Good afternoon, people. So today my topic is about digestive system. I'm going to take three topics today. Digestive system. Second one is about storage of glucose from a digested food. Third topic is about food guide pyramid, like in which way we have to eat our food per day, like in which servings or which grams or which cup or how many. So about that I'm going to take three topics. The first topic is about digestive system. As we know how it works, it's an insoluble food. It's a big part of large molecule which enters into our mouth, which breaks down because of salivary gland, which breaks down to small molecules and then which enters into the body. So there are 5 stages in it. The first stage enters the mouth. At the time what happened, a large molecule enters because of the salivary gland. It's called salivary amylase, which secretes and then which just divides into smaller molecules. So which forms it as a bolus. We'll call it a bolus. So then it enters into the larynx and then esophagus. From that, it's an involuntary reaction which enters into the stomach. So the stomach, what happens? So there is a lining in our stomach which secretes, which is called pepsin. It's called pepsin. So what happens? A pepsin which will get mingled or which will act on the food which enters. So at the time what happens, which again breaks down into which we call peptides. So the molecule which comes as an outcome and when the food reacts to the pepsin is called peptides. So peptides, what happens? And then you can say we have another acid in our stomach. It's called hydrochloric acid. Yeah, it has. What is the function of this is? It will just help to kill the bacteria which are there in the food which intake. So that's the use of hydrochloric acid. Right? After that, what happens after the breakdown? Here what happens? Here not all the food which we intake, whatever carbohydrates, proteins, fats, they're not getting absorbed by our body until it enters the stomach. After what happens, descend to the small intestine. At the small intestine, what happens in the sense? It will further break down into several molecules. Like in case of protein, which will be break down into insoluble amino acids. And then the fat, which is break down into the fatty acids and the glycerol. Glycerol is a form of alcohol, which will call as a sugar, which we intake as an artificial sugar, which is not produced by our body, glycerol. So the next one is about carbohydrates. Carbohydrates which we intake as a form of starch. Starch is the byproduct of fruits and then what are the meat that we intake. So what happens because of it will break down, which will break down to maltose. It's a form of carbohydrates, the polysaccharide, sugar, everything. So and then what happens? One sec. Yeah, it enters in the small intestine. The small intestine, because of the liver which secretes the what is it? Bile juice, and then our pancreas which secretes the alkaline juice. So these both will be acting upon the food which enters in our body. It will break down. At the time, what happens when it happens in the upper part of the small intestine, which is called duodenum. So at the time the molecules break down, whichever the nutrients are there, they will be absorbed. After that, descend to the lower small intestine. So there the insoluble or unabsorbed nutrients or proteins which are there, it will go there. It will be absorbed to the villi. Villi it's like a hair-like substance in it. So which will absorb all the nutrients from the food which we intake and then which is supplied to the blood. This happens over there. After that, the wastage particles which will move to the appendix and the other particles which will be moved to the larger intestine. Are there where what happens? There we not absorb much of the nutrients which will not happen over there. Absorption of nutrients which will not happen over there. Only the water absorption will be happening on the larger intestine. That's how, and then what happens? The rectum act and then the anus, the waste feces will be coming out. This is called digestive system. Why I said it is. Next, I'm going to the topic called storage of glucose from digested food. Glucose is the main energy source in our human body. So what happens after 8 hours of fasting? Our blood glucose level will be at fasting blood glucose sugar level. Normally, it will be 90 to 100 mg per 100 centimeter cube of blood which we have. So at 8 hours of fasting, it will be around 90 to 100 mg. So it is after fasting. So after we intake a heavy meal which has carbohydrates, it will just spike up to 140 mg. So just spike up to 140. So this is a normal fasting blood sugar level, how it be, and this is a postprandial, PPBS means postprandial blood sugar level, which will be at 140 mg per 100 centimeter cube of blood. Next, that too will be reduces after 2 hours. So after 2 hours of eating, what happens? It will be reduced again, come to 95 or 90 to 100 mg. So this is a maximum observation from our body of the glucose, whichever is there. After the excess, if we intake an excess amount of glucose or food or carbohydrates, whichever we mostly excessively intake, which will be converted into a glycogen. Glycogen, what is the definition of glycogen? Is it's a multiple or more number of glucose which will be accumulated over a period of time, when you intake a lot of amount of carbohydrates in your body, we don't know where to store. So it will convert the glucose into the glycogen. So first where it will store it is liver, next into the muscle. In liver, it will store up to only 100 mg. It will not go more than that. In muscle also it's up to 300 mg. Only up to 300 mg. It's not stored more than that. So if it's not one, we will have a lot of carbohydrates in our day-to-day life. Where the other goes, the other will be converted into the fat. It will be converted into fat. That's it. So liver will intake only 100 mg. The muscle will intake only 300 mg of hold of glycogen, which will be there. So if our body due to activity, if we are fasting a lot, it will go below the 80 mg per this is a unit or 100 centimeter cube of blood. If it will go below the 80 mg or 80 milligram, what happens in the sense, the liver will start releasing the glycogen for extra energy source, which will break down into the which glycogen will break down to the glucose, and then which will give our body energy to perform. Okay, that's about this one. And then this liver source, the extra accumulated glycogen and glucose is there in our body, right, in the liver, which will be there up to 6 hours. Maximum up to 6 hours it can be withhold. Okay, so you can use the extra glycogen which are there up to 6 hours of fasting, and after that it will not, what is it? In 6 hours it will all be used actually. So there's nothing be left after 6 hours. It will be more drained out after that. So that's about 80 mg per centimeter cube and liver which will be accumulated. So this is about glucose stored in storage of glucose from the digestive food which happens. So next come to the this topic is called food guide pyramid. So the food guide pyramid is, it's all about how we intake our food, how we should intake, how much amount it should be intake. Okay, as we know, the order of food which we intake, protein, fat, carbohydrates and fats in that form. So in our day-to-day life, how we should, this is the least, this is the more we should intake. It's called bread, cereal, rice and pasta, what are the carbohydrates which comes, we should intake 6 to 11 servings per day, because if you intake more number of carbohydrates, we'll just reduce the intake of fats in our diet, which will make us full. So that's the main thing, we are intaking carbohydrates in our diet. The next is vegetables and fruits. It's about 3 to 5 servings of vegetables per day, and then fruits of 2 to 4 servings per day. So this is for the maximum nutrients and vitamins to absorb to our body. We need veg and fruits to be there in the second layer of the hierarchical way. Next is about milk, yogurt, cheese. Milk, yogurt, cheese, it's for calcium attained for your body to make our bone to be strength and strong. We should be prevent from the degeneration of our body. That's for that purpose we'll eat milk, yogurt and cheese, which will be at the third layer of it. Next is about meat, egg and fish. It's for our daily protein source to build up muscle and tissues. For that we'll eat meat, egg and fishes. The last one is about fat and then oil and fat and oil and that sweets, the sugar, So what happens, it should be limited intake because which will cause our body to damage, will lead to heart disease or conditions, which will increase the blood pressure. So it at the last, it should be eaten in a minimal amount or it should be avoided maximum. So it's bad for health actually, so that's the reason. So this is the hierarchical theory which was there. The first major intake should be
Which one was it?
fats, and then oil and then sweets.
Okay.
So the first one we have the bread, carbohydrates, next is nutrients and vitamins, that's calcium and protein, the last one is fat. These are base of water food which should be eaten. So this is this I came across from the guidelines for it. The normal person should intake, this is for a normal person, should intake 12% of proteins in his diet or in her diet per day, and then 15% of carbohydrates should be there, and then 30% of good fat. It's not a bad one, it's a good fat. So this good fat will come under the excess accumulated of carbohydrates in our body, it will come under this. So next one is about this for athlete. So an endurance athlete, how much he should intake. So as we know, as we had a conversation with Arjun on that day, it's about carbohydrates should be more intake when it's go to endurance athletes because of the excess of more energy should be needed. So it's like that. They need protein of 15 to 20% per day or per meal, and then 60 to 65% the more number of carbohydrates they needed, and then the fat percent should be 20 to 25, and then this will be more or less not similar to the bodybuilder. The bodybuilder needs more muscle mass, so they'll intake up to 35 to 40% of protein in their diet, which they need to build the muscle tissues over the joints to make them strong or muscular. So this is for the bodybuilder. It's as we increase the protein source, they'll just decrease the carbohydrates minimum. It will be near to the 40%. The extra 10% or 15% will be at the fat. This is the normal way of eating which they guided. It's a US food committee or something they guided it. So these are the things should be noted for the food guide pyramid. So I don't know whether I clearly said it or not, but that's it.
So this is 12, 58 and 30. If someone who wants to, is it just for the numbers for someone who wants to live a healthy lifestyle, or is it numbers for someone who wants to put on muscle? I don't want to be a bodybuilder, so I don't want to eat 30 to 50.
It's not about the healthy.
So if I eat at 12, 58 and 30, will I be able to pack muscles?
If you want to increase the muscle, you should increase the protein source, right? It's about your, you are going to which way of fitness. If you're going to bodybuilding, you need it. If you're going on endurance, you need a more of carbohydrates than protein. That's the way. That's it.
So you said something about glycogen stores in your liver. It's maximum of 100 milligrams per deciliter. There are these conditions like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and everything. So at that time, is the same thing? Is this for a normal person, or does this also include them also?
This is for the normal person who is healthier.
Okay.
For them, the glycogen level will be 100, maximum 100 milligram, which will be stored in our liver. The excess will be converted in the fat.
Fat. Stored in the liver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to explain
This part. So, normally our body uses glucose as the energy source. Okay? So, whenever we eat carbohydrates, excessive food or anything, our body will break down into carbohydrates or glucose into it. So, what happens after 8 hours of fasting? As depending on if you sleep at 8 or night to in the morning, 8 hours of sleep. So, in the morning, our blood test for sugar level.
Early morning.
Early morning. Upon the fasting blood sugar level, FBS. So, at the time, what happened? The blood sugar normal 90 to 100 mg. Our normal person. Kila portion, it's low blood sugar level, diabetes. So we next come to PPBS. PPBS is postprandial blood sugar. It's after a meal, after heavy meal, after 2 hours or. So அப்போ பாத்தீங்கன்னா 140 mg It's a normal. இதெல்லாம் normal. I'm not comparing with any conditions or any other conditions with that. So 140 mg normal இருக்கணும். அதுக்கு after 2 hours பாத்தீங்கன்னா மறுபடியும் அது நம்ம பாடியில் இருக்க எல்லா குளுக்கோஸ் ஆர் கார்போஹைட்ரேட்ஸ் எல்லாம் யூட்டிலைஸ் ஆகிட்டு நம்ம பாடி லெவல் மறுபடியும் 95 mg வந்துடும். blood sugar level
It should come for healthy person.
for a healthy person. So இதான் இந்த மூணு புரிஞ்சுதா? நெக்ஸ்ட் ஸோ இப்போ இதெல்லாம் இருந்தது. இப்போ நீங்கள் வந்து ஒரு 100 grams ஆஃப் ஃபுட் சாப்பிட்றீங்க, கார்போஹைட்ரேட் சாப்பிட்றீங்க. இன்கேஸ் வந்து நீங்கள் ஒரு நாள் வந்து 200 grams சாப்பிட்றீங்கன்னா உங்கள் பாடி 100 grams தான் எடுக்கும். 100 grams தான் எடுக்கும். மிச்சம் 100 grams எக்ஸஸாக இருக்குல்ல, அந்த 100 grams வந்து ஸ்டோர் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணும் பாடியில். ஸோ ரெண்டு இடத்துல ஸ்டோர் பண்ணும். ஒன்று வந்து லிவரில் ஸ்டோர் பண்ணும், இன்னொன்று வந்து மசிலில். ஸோ லிவரில் வந்து ஸ்டோர் பண்ணும்போது 100 mg தான் மேக்ஸிமம் கெப்பாசிட்டி ஸ்டோர் பண்ணுறதுன்னு சொல்லிடுறாங்க. நான் படிச்சிருக்க தான் சொன்னாங்க 100 mg. நெக்ஸ்ட் வந்து மசிலுக்கு வந்து 300 mg. ஸோ இதுக்கு மேலே எக்ஸஸாக போயிடுச்சுன்னா நம்ம பாடி என்ன பண்ணணும்னா அதை வந்து ஃபேட்டாக கன்வெர்ட் பண்ண ட்ரை பண்ணணும். ஸோ தட்ஸ் வை that's what we call healthy fat அப்படின்னு சொல்கிறது அதனால தான். அன்ஹெல்தி ஃபேட் என்ன சொல்கிறோம்னா which the other fats அதெல்லாம். ஸோ நெக்ஸ்ட் இந்த பாயிண்ட் என்னன்னு பார்த்தீங்கன்னா, ஸோ திஸ் ஒன் த லிவர். ஸோ நம்ம பாடி வந்து blood sugar level வந்து 80 mg கீழே போயிடுச்சு. If it goes below the 80 mg, our liver acts on it. It will start secreting, it started breakdowning of glycogen into glucose to produce extra energy. ஸோ நம்ம ஆளுங்க சாப்பிடாம வந்துட்டு ஓடும்போது எனர்ஜி வரும் தெரியுமா? நம்ம ஆளுங்க எதுவும் சாப்பிடல, அது நம்ம ஓடும்போது எனர்ஜி
stored liver
is stored on the what is it, like glucose, glycogen,
the reserve that I have.
reserve glucose, it will come out, which will produce our energy. ஸோ அதுதான். அதுவும் இது வந்து எவ்வளோ மணி நேரத்துக்கு பாடியில் ஸ்டோர் பண்ணி வச்சுக்கணும், அப் டு 6 hours வரைக்கும் யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். இப்போ நீங்கள் இது மாதிரி சாப்பிடல, இப்போ சாப்பிட்டு 6 hours ஆகுதுன்னா 6 hours வரைக்கும் நீங்கள் அதை யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். ஓகேவா? அதுக்கு மேலே அது வராது. 6 hours வரைக்கும் அது தாங்கும், அந்த லிவர் செக்ரீட் பண்ணுறது. அதுக்கு மேலே தாங்காது. ஸோ அதுதான் வந்து இட்ஸ் நாட் மோர் தென் 6 hours இது வந்து லிவர் வந்து ஹோல்ட் பண்ணாது. ஸோ தட்ஸ் வாட் திஸ் பாயிண்ட். ஓகே.
So, when you said glycogen, is there like is the 100 like a minimum amount of 100 mg like the minimum amount required inside the liver, or is it like, and if it depletes, it will take it from the fat also? Does it work like that?
So the thing is, the first, it's not about exercise. As you said, we know one thing, if a body doesn't have carbohydrates or glucose in it, it will take from the fats. That's what ketogenesis, which will take.
Correct.
So as you said, the process occurs.
That process
Occurs. So if a body doesn't have liver doesn't have a glucose or carbohydrates in it, actually take from the good fat only, from whichever stored over there. That's it. That's what ketosis or ketogenesis. That's the process. Arjun?
No, Shashank was asking, with regard to 12% normal person. Most of the clients what we are getting right now needs to put on muscle. So we take care of them like a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
We try to put on muscle, and I think that entire data itself is for the.
Chumma to stay.
If you are under 25%, if for us to chumma live a normal lifestyle, for that.
If you have any goal, அதை அவுட்லைன் பண்ணி தான் ஆகணும்.
That's what. If your goal is to put on muscle, obviously you will go under bodybuilding category. If your goal is to play a sport or something, yes, obviously you will, tweak it according to your sport.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
இது வந்து ஆஃப் சப்ஜெக்ட். அந்த ஐரன்ஸ் வந்து அதை எப்படி இது பண்றது? டவுன் குட் டு பேடா இல்ல எப்படி?
Good to bad தான்.
More to less.
சொல்லலாமே. Like you have to take intake of carbohydrates நிறைய இருக்கணும், fat intake கம்மியா இருக்கணும் அப்படின்ற மாதிரி.
அது general population.
ஆமா.
கார்போஹைட்ரேட்
To survive, not to perform.
Yeah. இப்போ பெர்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணா fats கீழ proteins கீழ வந்துரும், carbohydrates மேல வரும். அது மாதிரி தான்.
That is different and this is different.
That is different.
Hey, we are all unhealthy.
No,
generation.
eating order that Basu says that is different and this is different.
No, eating order is the same, but the amount of intake you take.
Pyramid and eating order. Both are
Eating
different.
order also different. அது protein
Eating order, if you see, proteins you take 2 times your body weight, and your carbohydrates will be more than 4-5 times.
This is the total of
Total,
intake.
total.
நான் சாப்பிடுறது first சாப்பிடணும்ல.
ஆ.
உடனே சாப்பிட்டா இவ்வளவு இருக்கணும்.
This is not for order of eating. This is not order of eating.
It's like food, ஒரு கைடு மாதிரி எப்படி சாப்பிடலாம் அப்படின்றது. That's it.
This is for the normal people.
Normal people. General.